Welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to Python. In this lesson, I'm going to explain how you use Python lists and sets. Lists and sets are data types in Python where you can basically store a list of objects. The main difference between the two is that one can contain a list of any objects and the other can contain only unique items in the list. So if you wanted a list of items but you wanted to allow repeating values, you would use a list. If you want to have all unique items, then you would use a set. So let's go ahead and create our first list in Python. All right, so open up the Atom editor to the project that we've been using in this course. Let's create a new file and call it lists and sets.py. All right, so the way that you create a simple list in Python is you use the square brackets like this. So let's give it a name of available apples equals, and then create a new double bracket here to create our list. What this will do is it will create an empty list called available apples. What you can do in the list is you can add any objects that you want to this list. So you can add any of the variable types that we've discussed in the previous videos into the list, and you can create a list of those types. So if you wanted a list of strings, you can create a list of strings. If you wanted a list of numbers, you can add a list of numbers. Or if you want a list of booleans, then you can create a list of booleans. We're going to create a list of strings, and the strings are going to be names of apples that we have in stock. Okay, so let's start by adding the Cox apple. That's the type of apple. And let's add a second string. And you basically add multiple items by using the comma and comma separating them. So we're going to do Cox, Pink Lady, and Braeburn. All right, so now let's print our available apples. And let's load up the command prompt or the terminal window. And let's type Python lists and sets. And you can see it outputs the list pretty much as we write it here. So we know it's a list because it has two square brackets and the items in it are separated by the comma. All right, so let's say that we wanted to add an extra item to our list. So let's say we want to add a different type of apple. You can add it here. You can add it anywhere here in the between the comma. But if you wanted to add it to a pre-existing list instead of creating a new one, then you can use available_apples.append. The append function will add a new item to our list. And because it's a function, you need to use the curved brackets and then pass in the item that you want to add to our list. So we're going to pass in a string called Royal Gala as a different type of apple. So save that. And now let's run our code again. And you can see that it appended the item to the list, to the end of the list. Okay, so now let's say we wanted to remove an item from our list. So let's pretend that the Braeburn apples are no longer in stock. So we're going to remove it from our list of available apples. And the way you do that is you simply use the remove function. So the same way you typed append, you're going to type available_apples.remove and then the name of the item you want to remove. So we'll remove Braeburn. And then if you run the code again, you can see that it outputs the code without Braeburn or outputs the apples without Braeburn because we removed it from our list. Okay, so now what if you wanted to extend a list with another list? So let's say you wanted to append items, but you didn't want to just append one item, you wanted to append a bunch of new items to the list. You can do that using the extend function. So let's pretend that we have a list called new apples equals, and then this is a list of apples that we've had delivered. So now we have a bunch of new apples, and let's say we have Pink Ladies, Empire, Mutsu, Red Delicious, and more Cox apples. Okay, so you can now add this list to our list by you typing available apples.extend, and then you pass in the list of items that you want to extend the list by. So let's extend by new underscore apples. And now let's print this, and you can see that it has appended all the items in this list to our original list. Okay, so that's great, but what if we wanted to make sure we keep the list unique? We didn't want to have duplicates in our list or on our Apple menu, whatever this list is being used for. So we want to convert this to something that is unique. So the way that you can do that is you can use a set. So if you type unique underscore apples equals and then set and then pass in new underscore apples, or no, actually we want to pass in available apples like that, save that, then this, it's spelled right. This will contain a unique list of apples. But let's pretend we wanted to actually keep it in a list. We didn't want to use a set. You can basically assign this back to a list by typing available apples equals list, and then you pass the set of unique apples into it. And let's print this here. And now you can see that it has made our items unique. The reason you might want to do that is just so that you can use the consistent functions that come available with a list, and there are various other reasons why you may want to use a list over a set, but we can cover them at a later date in a more advanced topic. Okay, so that is how you define lists using Python. Actually, before I end the lesson, I'm just going to explain that you may notice there are two ways that you can describe a list here. One way is to use the square brackets here, and the other way is to use the list function that comes built in with Python. It doesn't really matter which one you prefer to use, although it can be more readable if you use the square brackets, and it's more of common practice to do that. But both of those options are available, and you might just want to use the function version if you're looking to convert an item to a new list, basically. Okay, so that's how you use lists, and that's a basic introduction to lists and sets in Python. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions at all, then please leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.